only for that scroll to last an hour. Maybe you check a few messages or like your friend's post online, and then look up and an hour, maybe two, has passed. Or perhaps you open your laptop to check one email and all of a sudden you bought a new swimsuit and researched cities to live in. For many, this happens a lot, and it raises an important question. How is the internet impacting our attention? The short answer? The internet does impact how we interact with the world and process new information. But no, it is not rewiring our brains or attention spans in some uniquely harmful way. In fact, it influences it in a similar way that we've seen in past inventions like the printing press, television, and even radio. Despite concerns regarding the internet's impact on attention, evidence suggests that the internet is not destroying our attention spans, but instead reshaping where we place it. In this video, we'll deep dive into that idea. We'll explore the concerns many people have about the internet and its effect on our brains and attention. Then we'll look at what science actually says, and finally, we'll wrap it up with a clear answer and a few practical tips to help stay focused in an online world. Let's get started. Let's start by taking a look at some of the most common concerns people have. One of the biggest concerns is that the internet is rewiring our brains in a different and damaging way. The brain is incredibly adaptable and it responds to how we use it, so there is some basis for this concern. In fact, some studies suggest that heavy internet use may be linked to reduced gray matter in brain regions responsible for attention and control. This sounds alarming, but it's also important to acknowledge that our brains change all the time in response to any repeated behavior. Another concern is the internet encourages us to juggle multiple tasks at once. This includes responding to and attending to emails, social media, music, messages, and more. Many of these concerns occur at the same time, forcing users to multitask and therefore split their attention. However, humans aren't good at multitasking. What we actually do is task switching, which is when we shift focus from one task to another. Every time we shift focus, our brains has to shift goals, which means it must decide what to do next. Then our brains must activate new rules and adjust to the demands of the new task. This comes with the cost in time, energy, and productivity. Some estimates say multitasking can lower efficiency up by 40%. This aspect of multitasking feeds into the fear that the internet is diverting our attention too frequently and resulting in worse attention overall. Another common concern is that the constant flow of rapid content means our brains are used to quick scanning rather than deep focus. It is known that the internet provides users with a variety of short, in-depth content. Some fear that this format conditions users to jump from one thing to the next, which can make sustained attention feel harder and less natural. In fact, it was found that the average screen focus time has dropped from 2.5 minutes in 2004 to just 45 seconds today. Further, some individuals worry that the internet shifts how we use memory. The internet has become kind of an external hard drive for our brains. Instead of remembering information, we remember where to find it. This leads people to focus less on the information they're learning. In fact, studies show that when we believe information will be available online, we're less likely to store it in our own memory. One study even found that internet searches compared to using traditional sources like encyclopedias can reduce activity in brain regions tied to working memory. Many people worry that the internet is making users less attentive because users know they will not have to remember the information and can find it online. Many individuals also worry about the dopamine factor. Every time we get a notification or refresh our feed, our brain releases a small hit of dopamine. Dopamine is a feel-good chemical that keeps us coming back for more. It's the same system activated by TVs, video games, or even sugar. People worry that with the internet, the loop never ends. When the dopamine dips, there's always a new distraction to bring that hit back. Finally, we can see people's concerns in the numbers. About 66% of people believe younger generations have worse attention spans than before. Surveys also show that 49% of the UK public feels like their focus has worsened, with younger generations experiencing the biggest impact. Clearly, the internet shapes our habits and attention in powerful ways, and this is fed into concerns regarding the internet and attention. However, it's important to analyze whether the internet is negatively impacting our attention and what the research shows. Let's break down these 5 concerns in regards to research. As stated before, many worry that the internet is rewiring our brain in a different and damaging way. While the internet does change our brains, it's not necessarily in a bad way. Just like learning to drive or playing guitar, using the internet shapes our brain's functions. This is neuroplasticity in action. Some studies show that heavy internet use may correlate with reduced gray matter in areas tied to attention, but others showed increased activity to decision-making areas when using search engines. Bottom line, the brain adapts to how we use it. So yes, the internet rewires our brains, but so does everything else we do. Another common concern is in regards to multitasking or task switching. The truth is, the internet encourages us to jump between tasks. 1 minute we're answering text, and the next we're watching videos of cats' epic fails. But humans can't really multitask. What we do is task switch, and the switch comes at a cost. However, this is not a new problem, and it's not generational either. Research shows that people who believe they're great multitaskers usually perform worse than those who don't. Multitasking is difficult because the more similar two tasks are, the harder they are to juggle. For instance, texting and driving both require visual attention, so trying to do them together divides your focus in a way that the brains can't handle efficiently. However, this was an issue when people were driving and reading a map as well. Multitasking isn't a new human behavior. Instead, the internet amplifies the opportunities for it, but the cognitive limitations have always been there. Additionally, despite popular belief, millennials aren't better multitaskers than baby boomers. They're often just more comfortable with technology and better at certain single tasks. But when it comes to doing multiple things at once, no generation has an edge, meaning that the internet has not had an impact on multitasking or attention over time or generation. So yes, the internet makes it easier to task switch, but it doesn't mean we've lost the ability to focus. It's not that the internet is damaging our attentions, it's just revealing limits we've already had. As stated before, many people worry that the internet users have lost the ability to stay focused for long periods of time due to high quantity of short-form content. However, we're not doomed to a future of 8-second attention span. The Pew Research Center shows that people do engage with long-form content, sometimes even more deeply than short form. The key is motivation. If the content is valuable, people are willing to focus. If it's not that we lost our ability to pay attention, it's that we need a reason to stay focused. Many people also worry about the internet acting as an external memory. At one point, everyone memorized phone numbers. Now we just store these phone numbers in our phone. That's okay. The internet acts as a kind of external memory. We're likely to remember where to find information than the information itself. However, this isn't about being lazy or lacking attention. Instead, it's about how our brains prioritize information. When information is constantly available at our fingertips, our brains start to prioritize efficiency over retention. We offload the simple stuff so we can focus on more complex tasks like solving problems, thinking critically, and making decisions. In fact, studies show that people are less likely to remember facts if they can easily look them up. This is the Google effect. And it's just another example of how our brains adapt to tools we use. Overall, it isn't attention of failure, it's an evolution of how we use attention. One of the most talked about concerns is distraction and how the internet, through notifications, social media, and endless scrolling, keeps giving us dopamine hits to encourage a short attention span. However, dopamine and distractions are not unique to the internet. It's simply how the human brain works. We've always been vulnerable to distractions as it's part of our survival system to evolve and scan the environment for new, important, or potentially dangerous stimuli. The internet just gives us more stimuli more often. However, that doesn't mean our capacity to focus is broken. Studies show that the issue isn't about whether we can focus, it's about whether we want to. When we care about something, we are motivated. We can absolutely sustain attention, even in our digital world. Interestingly enough, short distractions like quick web breaks can actually boost performance on repetitive tasks. Just like senses adjust to constant stimuli, our attention resets and sharpens after a brief change of focus. So while the internet can make distraction easier, it hasn't destroyed our attention. It's just made us more aware of what pulls it and when. So is the internet ruining our attention? No. The internet impacts how we focus, how we remember, and how we interact with information, but it's not damaging our attention. The internet may encourage task switching, quick scanning, and act as an external memory. It also may surround us with distractions and tap into our brain's reward systems, but none of these things prove our attention is broken. Research shows a different story. Our attention spans haven't significantly declined. Our brains are adapting, not deteriorating. And when we're motivated, we're still capable of deep, focused thinking. The real shift isn't our ability to pay attention, it's how we choose to use it. The internet is a powerful tool, and like any tool, it can help or harm depending on how we use it. For instance, controlled breaks online can refresh our focus. Internet-delivered cognitive behavioral therapy has improved mental health, and even older adults can benefit from online engagement, which sharpens their memory and delay cognitive decline. If we set boundaries, stay intentional, and give our mind space to breathe, we can stay focused and control our focus, even in a world that's constantly competing for it. The way we interact with information has evolved, and like every major technological shift in history, we're adapting. The real question isn't about whether the internet affects our attentions, it's how we choose to respond. Thank you.